Senator Fazio.
Good evening, Madam President. Thank you. I rise in support of this bill today because it creates necessary preconditions for economic opportunity and growth in Connecticut for all families. It changes, in minor but necessary ways, business as usual on economic policy in Connecticut. It shows the need for balance and bipartisanship in our state government. It enforces discipline on decision makers, politicians in our state government, and it also shows us the way to go further going forward. Over the last 10 or 15 years, business as usual in our state government has been kicking the can down the road and forcing the general public to pay for it. We saw significant tax increases on the middle class emanating from this building in 2009, in 2011, in 2015, in 2019. Conspicuously missing in those bienniums were 2017, when the fiscal guardrails that we are extending in this bill were passed. They were passed because, as my colleagues have mentioned, of an 18 split in the state Senate between parties. That entails people compromising. Nobody gets everything they want, but better outcomes are normally the result, and that's exactly what we see ourselves discussing now, 5 years hence. Business as usual in Connecticut has not worked for far too long. We should remember, we should understand that in the past budget, we were able to preempt any further tax increases. In fact, provide minor temporary tax relief, not only because of these guardrails that were put into place 5 years ago, but also because of the inflation that resulted in the overtaxation of families, and also because of the deficit spending and the aid from the federal government to the states that resulted in all states being cash rich in the short run. Two of those things will wear out, and we will find ourselves in similar positions as a state in the future with difficult decisions to make if we do not make economic and fiscal reforms here and now. And that's why these fiscal guardrails that we're debating today are so important. Balance in our state government, bipartisanship and compromise in our state government results in better outcomes. It is messy. It takes a long time. I'm certainly glad I didn't have to spend the summer of 2017 here as some of you did. I understand that it was long, it was difficult, it was hard, but there were good outcomes because of that balance that voters imposed here in this chamber and downstairs. Senator Fonfara and my predecessor, Senator France, deserve enormous credit, along with other leaders in this body, for advancing policies that the middle class, that regular people benefit from here today. That sort of paradigm would benefit our state going forward as well. New good ideas are more likely to be put into place from a balanced situation, from a pragmatic view of policy making. It's easier to extend good policies of the past in any circumstance, but imposing new ones, creating new ones, requires balance, requires hard work. These fiscal guardrails impose discipline on policymakers and politicians who might not otherwise feel that force, that compulsion to make difficult decisions. Budgets are about priorities. We need taxes. We need to bring significant revenue into the state in order to protect the public safety, to educate kids, to ensure there is a strong safety net for those who are down in their luck, who are disabled, and other vital social services. But strong economic growth, affordability, rising incomes are also necessary to provide for those basic services. And fiscal decision-making that is prudent, budgets that are wise and balanced are necessary for that growth to ensure that the middle class is prosperous as they had long been here in Connecticut. The results, the fruits of these policies passed in 2017 also show the need to go further. They are necessary, but they are not sufficient to create growth in Connecticut. Connecticut still stands as a state who ranks in the bottom 10 for job growth, for economic growth, and for income growth since the beginning of the pandemic. Our state still has the second highest taxes in the country. Hopefully, we can reduce that burden here in this budget cycle, but far more needs to be done in order to create prosperity for the middle class and opportunity for the working class in our state. I wish that these fiscal guardrails could have been extended for 10 years, as the governor and as our caucus had argued for, but this does make policy in this state better. This does create more hope for the middle class and for growth in the next decade. And so I'll happily vote in support of this bill and hope it is a good first step to reform in Connecticut.
Thank you, Senator. Will you remark further?